And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday, September 6th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the $ icon in the chat. This will help create a super chat for you that I will acknowledge during the live broadcast, and it just makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, and any contribution that you guys can make to the show means the world to us. And then also the alternative way to help out the show is by going to the link GSMCPodcast.net, which is displayed at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker. So, let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So, I'll start off the show by recapping last night's thrilling game between the Chiefs and the Ravens. Chiefs narrowly defeating the Ravens 27-20, and we'll get into all of that. We'll break the whole game down in just a second. And then the rest of the show is just previews for the weekend. Second part of the show, we'll preview tonight's game in Brazil between the Packers and the Eagles. Then in the third part of the show, we'll take a look at some of the big college football matchups tomorrow, including Texas-Michigan. That's one game that I'm really want to pay attention to. And also we'll preview the early slate of games on Sunday as well. So that'll be a combination segment. Then in the fourth part of the show, we'll take a look at the late window games for Sunday, particularly the Cowboys and the Browns. And then in the final part of the show, we'll preview the Sunday night game between the Lions and the Rams. So that's what's on tap for today, all previews. And that's when you know we're back. So let's get into the first topic, which is recapping last night's epic matchup between the Ravens and the Chiefs. Now, this game did not start on time because there was lightning in the area. Weather wasn't great in the very beginning, but cleared up. So the game ended up starting at 8:40 Eastern time. And the Ravens got the ball to start the game, and they went 11 plays, 70 yards in almost 7 minutes of time possession down the field, and Derrick Henry got his first touchdown with the Ravens. And you thought, oh man, Derrick Henry's going to have a game. But yeah, that was his only touchdown of the night. But yeah, I think he ended up only finishing with, 46 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He had 13 carries last night. Now, on that first drive, though, the Ravens were getting called for multiple illegal formations. And those weren't the only illegal formations of the game. That was getting called all night. John Harbaugh looked like he was going to lose it. On third down, it looked like, the Chiefs were going to get off the field, but there was another illegal formation, I believe, on that play, but there was also pass interference, so those got canceled out. Those canceled each other out, and the Ravens got a chance to get a third down. They converted. Zay Flowers connected with Lamar Jackson connected with Zay Flowers for a 19-yard gain. Well, that was because there was also a pass interference on that drive too, I believe. But yeah, so Lamar connected with Zay Flowers for a big play, and then Derrick Henry, of course, finished it off. But then the Chiefs went right down the field on their first drive. 5 plays, 67 yards. Beautiful end-around play that they called. The blocking was great for Xavier Worthy, and he scored his first touchdown of the night from 21 yards out. Rashee Rice made a couple of big plays on that drive. A lot of underneath routes with Rashee Rice in this game. He finished with 103 yards on the game. But yeah, then both teams punted. The Ravens then ended up fumbling on their first drive of the second quarter. Sack fumble. Chiefs then kicked a field goal. Then the Ravens turned it over on downs. Chiefs turned that into a field goal. So the Ravens did a good job at keeping this game close, because this game really could have got out of hand early, but the Ravens defense was able to keep it close, and the Chiefs were only kicking field goals. Then Justin Tucker did something he doesn't do often, and that's miss a field goal, a 53-yard field goal. Again, more illegal formation penalties. Delay of game penalty was on that drive as well. But yeah, then Chiefs get the ball after the missed field goal, and Mahomes throws a pick right away. So then Justin Tucker redeems himself. They get into field goal range, and he kicks a 25-yard field goal. Now, the Ravens could have got 7 points on that drive. Justice Sills wide open for a walk-in touchdown, but the linebacker on the Chiefs, I forget the player's name, but he knocked it down, and that resulted in the Ravens having to kick a field goal. So Chiefs could have been losing at the half, but it was 13-10 at the half. Chiefs opened up the second half with a touchdown. Another big play to Rashee Rice for 33 yards, then Justin Watson for 25 yards, and then Isaiah Pacheco from 1 yard out scores a touchdown. And the Chiefs are up by 10. Both teams then exchange punts, and then Lamar Jackson at the beginning of the fourth quarter connected with Isaiah Likely for a 49-yard touchdown. And this was on 2nd and 17. The Ravens again got backed up. There was a holding call. He had a big run for 29 yards, and it got called back for holding. Then it was 1st and 20. And then, he ran for 3 yards to make it 2nd and 17, and then he scrambled out, threw it to Likely. Yeah, bad positioning by the Chiefs secondary. And Likely was able to take it in for a touchdown. He had a monster game. So then that made it 20-17. Then the Chiefs scored a touchdown. They responded. Xavier Worthy with his second touchdown of the game, 35 yards out. That made it 27-17. Then the Ravens, they answered with a field goal drive. Justin Tucker from 32 yards out. Then the Chiefs got the ball back. The Ravens were able to get it back with some time left. Mahomes almost threw a pick. It got deflected in the air, and he had to catch his own pass. Then the Ravens get the ball back with just under 2 minutes, and they go the length of the field. And Lamar Jackson missed a wide-open Zay Flowers for a touchdown. Then the next play, Isaiah Likely scores a touchdown. And a little bit before that, he got hurt, and it looked like he was, done for the game, but came back in because he landed awkwardly. It looked like the injury was significant, but he was able to come back in, scored a touchdown like we thought, and John Harbaugh was holding up, the 2 fingers like they were going to go for 2. They reviewed the play, and his foot was just out of bounds. So they called it back, and that was how the game ended. Chiefs win 27-20. So some of my takeaways from the game, well, first of all, the refs are really calling those illegal formation penalties on the Ravens, particularly on Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle. But their offensive line did struggle last night. And they got some young guys that they're trying to work in. And, Lamar Jackson was really fired up on the sidelines early on in the game, with the line after the sack fumble. So that's something that they're going to have to, work on. Also, I know, listen, Mark Andrews has had a tough, 6 months or whatever it is, because had a season-ending injury, and then he was involved in a car accident. But, so he's trying to get himself back into shape. But, I felt like he looked like he lost a step. last night. And you know, the thing is, you don't want to overreact to these kinds of things. As Ask MDJ just subscribe to us, we appreciate that. But I don't want to overreact. But Isaiah Likely looked like the tight end one last night. I mean, he was unbelievable. That's another takeaway. He was a monster in this game. But for me, like Mark Andrews, we'll see. It was just one game, but there was that play where he had a clear first down and he just fell down to the ground. I don't know if he just slipped, but Isaiah Likely looked like the tight end one last night. And then another thing with the Ravens, they need another receiver. They need another playmaker because I feel like Zay Flowers is a good player. They paid Rashad Bateman this offseason. They got Nelson Aguilar, but I feel like they need somebody else. And I was thinking last night, I don't think this is going to happen, but, if the Raiders fall out of it, we've been hearing all these rumors about Devontae Adams. What if the Ravens are a team that could possibly trade for him? I don't know. That's just something I thought of. But they need another playmaker on that offense. But Lamar Jackson was unreal last night in this game. He was their leading rusher. He ended up finishing with 122 yards rushing, 273 yards passing, and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely had 9 receptions for 111 yards and a touchdown. Roquan Smith had that interception off of Mahomes, which was bad. Mahomes finished 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Isaiah Pacheco had a touchdown for 45 yards. Rashee Rice was the leading receiver, 7 receptions for 103 yards. Very entertaining game. Also for the Chiefs, it was also because they were tired. You could see it, especially on that last drive. The back end did struggle a little bit. Also, it just didn't help that Lamar Jackson was running all over the place. He was getting big chunk yardages with some of his scrambles. So the Chiefs' defense was gassed. Xavier Worthy, that's why the Chiefs traded with the Bills in the draft to get him. He looked really good. Rashee Rice looked good. Kelsey didn't have a big game, but he'll have his. It's not concerning, but yeah, I don't think this is going to be the last time we see these two teams. I think we're going to see another matchup down the line. But yeah, the Ravens were that close with that touchdown, and they would have went for 2, and who knows what would have happened. Would they have gotten it? Maybe. And then we're having a different conversation. But it was a very entertaining game. Great way to start off the season. Let's see what tonight brings. But let me know what you guys think about this game. What were some of your takeaways from it? Let me know in the comments. So we're going to take our first break. And then when we come back, we will discuss the Brazil game tonight between the Eagles and the Packers. So with that being said, stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.